back to Neil Haley Show and also the Media Giant Effect. And I'm excited to welcome to the show from Lopez versus Lopez, Mayan and Salinas. Guys, thanks for stopping by. You know what, Mayan, did you ever think that you would be doing a show with your father like this? This has got to be awesome, right? How it started and everything. Tell me how it kind of developed.
It actually developed from TikTok. I was kind of like Lopez versus Lopez. Sometimes it was Lopez versus Lopez in real life, and for a lot of it. And so sometimes the only way my dad and I could communicate with each other through jokes. And I was out of college and wanting to be a comedian, and just found the medium of TikTok. I made a TikTok, kind of commenting on family things, and I was twerking while doing it because why not try to get attention that way? Upside down twerking. Because I go for the joke. And Debbie Wolf, our showrunner, saw that, and she immediately thought that it was this type of show, and saw the other content that I had made about my parents' divorce, and it was something that just kind of came about. We never thought in a million years that we'd be doing a show together, but I think it's something that is so special to both of us, and I think our relationship represents a lot of relationships, whether it be father-daughter, mother-son, vice versa, that it's healing and forgiveness and talking about mental health. And it's a vegetable that goes deeper and wider than we have. And I'm glad that people are enjoying it so far.
And Salinas, when you were asked to do the show, that was interesting to have a story that kind of show developed based on a true story, right? Something developed into something, right?
Yeah, it was, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, because this was now working with George, working with Mayan, I see that although they are playing themselves, they are playing real fictional themselves, so it was, in the beginning, I didn't know what to expect. Because I was going to work with an icon such as George Lopez, that alone was intimidating. The multi camera universe was also not familiar for me, and then stepping in to play a fictional version of the mom for this duo that is a real duo.
Yeah, she didn't know who she had to break us up.
Yeah, and am I going to be the outsider? But what I can say, it's been a joy to work with them, a joy to work with this cast, and also really wonderful to see how these two, George and Mayan, the real George and Mayan, are healing and are mending and have a really beautiful relationship. They have their own language too.
We do.
They have their own language. They're like off to the side, and they're like giggling and finishing each other's sentences and quoting movies, and it's really wonderful to see.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, Mayan, I'm so glad. 30 seconds, kind of tell us how that relationship, how happy are you doing this show with your father?
It's more than I could have ever imagined. It makes me happy every single day. I know that no matter how long this show goes, our relationship is going to be solid from here on out. And to have the respect for him and him to have the respect for me, not only as a daughter, but as a coworker, is something that I'd never expected. And I'm grateful that this is the life that I get to live, making people laugh alongside him. And that is something that greatest gift and greatest joy.
Fantastic. Awesome. Lopez versus Lopez, Fridays at 8 p.m. on NBC. Thanks again, guys, for stopping by. I appreciate it. We're back to the Neil Haley Show and also the Media Giant Effect and the Buccos. Especially now, we're going to get to finally see Spanky on TV, especially locally in Pittsburgh, but nationally in the Media Giant Effect. And he's going to talk about Signatures for Soldiers. And we have such a great guest on with us. So I'm first excited to welcome to the program Mike LaValliere. Mike Spanky, a.k.a. Spanky, the Pittsburgh Pirates. How are you, Mike? And good to see you again.
Well, Neil, good to see you again. Living here in Florida, enjoying our beautiful winter down here, about 80 degrees. I'm sorry for the rest of the folks that are shoveling snow today, but someone's got to enjoy the sunshine.
Oh, most definitely in Dallas. I'm in Dallas now, Mike, so I'm no longer in Pittsburgh. So I was smart. I'm in the warm climate as well. And our guest is as well, so I'm excited to welcome from Signatures for Soldiers, Tim Virgilio. Tim, thanks for stopping by, and tell me how you and Mike connected, because that's the coolest thing. Then we're going to learn more about your cause. I'm already thinking of people to connect you with. It's such a great thing that you're doing. But first, to introduce yourself and tell you how you and Mike connected.
All right. First of all, thanks for having me on, Neil. Always a pleasure. And Mike, great to see you again. I started Signatures for Soldiers in November of 2014 as a way to raise money for charity to help homeless and disabled veterans. Ask athletes at that time to sign cards, knowing that I was going to sell them 100% going to charity. And I happened to reach out to Mike via social media, I don't know, about a year or two into doing it, and asked if he would sign some cards for me. And he was gracious enough to do that and has been supporting my efforts ever since. So it's truly been a blessing and truly been an honor for me to get to know Mike and have his support.
What made you decide now to go to do the signing way by going to sports card events and stuff? I know you didn't tell me more about that, but it's such a great idea, right? Because people are going to buy those things and give them 100% wow. Because as Spanky would say, and Mike would say, basically those card shows and stuff, the personal appearances, people will pay anything at those events, right? For autographs and stuff like that. So it's such a great way to say, I'm going to really raise money for a charity in a way that the autographs, the authentic of those stars are huge. So you go to different sports card events to sell it?
Yeah. So, growing up as a kid, I collected baseball cards and got into collecting autographs, and really it's a hobby for me, even to this day. So I was trying to think of a way to support a charity that helps homeless and disabled veterans, and I figured, what charity can't use money? So what I did was I combined my hobby of autograph collecting with my passion of helping homeless and disabled veterans, and that's kind of how it started. The original goal back in November 2014 was to raise $500, and as we're sitting here talking now, in large part thanks to Mike, this week we've passed $219,000 in total money raised since I started. So I think we've been pretty successful. I think we've achieved that $500 goal.
No doubt. And are you going to the sports card events as well? Which sports card events? Just in Florida, or you travel across the country?
Yeah. So the last 5 years, we've been invited to the the National Sports Collectors Convention, which is the largest sports collectors convention in the country. It's 500,000 square feet. Over 5 days, they get 50 to 100,000 people coming through.
Wow.
So we've been invited there to set up, and we've had a booth to sell our items. And then the last 2 years, we were named the charity partner for the national. So they also held a auction in conjunction with the 5-day event that helped us raise additional funds as well.
That's fantastic. Now, Mike, what are your thoughts of this charity and how the angle they're using to definitely raise money for veterans, especially the homeless?
Well, I mean, obviously it's something that our veterans are in need, and I've got a member of our family, my son-in-law, that was in Iraq, in Baghdad, 2 Purple Hearts. So this is this rings close to home. And, I think our veterans haven't really gotten a fair shake. Anything and everything that I can do to help with that, it's just something, it's an honor for me to do. And it's something that, I just, I take pride in it. I'm thrilled to death to have met Tim. And I think we've got a really good thing going. I started to push a little bit more to get a little more involvement with some of my MLB friends and alumni to see if they can, do their little part. And I think things are starting to roll pretty well in our direction. And, it's something that's great to see. It's a great cause. And I tell you, it's something to be very proud about, to be a part of.
So what other athletes have you reached out to of your friends, Mike, to be part of?
Well, I've gotten some of my St. Louis Cardinals alumni, Jason Simon Tachi, who's been involved with the organization for a while. A couple catchers, Jesse Levis, and a couple other guys that reached out to me yesterday. I put a little note on or a post on Facebook and immediately gained traction. So I'm getting requests, to get Tim's info, to get them involved and see what they can do to help.
Tim, the power of social media, right? He posts on Facebook. We meet because of Mike. Can you imagine that? Just me just going in the newsfeed and seeing Mike, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to reach back out to Mike. It was 2014. He was on my show, or 2016. It's been a long time. And I'm like, I'm going to have Mike on. It's a perfect thing because he's promoting something. But again, raising money for such a great cause, it's got to feel great, right? You use the power influence of an influencer like Mike LaValliere and how it's moving the organization even more. What this foundation's got to feel great.
Yeah, it really does. We hear a lot of the ills of social media, and all of the evils. But, I think this just shows when good people come together, just the positive effect that can happen. I'm literally wiping away tears here because it's just, it's overwhelming for me. I mean, even to this point, because it's Signatures for Soldiers is all volunteer. I literally make no money off of this. And just to have support from people like Mike and you and just everyday citizens has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm already thinking, Mike, of connecting him to one of my clients, Dr. Charles Simkovich, that does a lot of work with veterans as well in the Pittsburgh region, and he's connected a lot of different people. One's Cam Hayward. He's going to be at an event with Cam. I think that would be great to get Cam involved, not just baseball, other sports. Have you been working on thinking about expanding?
Yeah, we baseball community has been the most responsive. But I have gotten players from NFL and NBA involved, in NHL as well, and so it's been really amazing just to see the support. We don't have a marketing plan or a marketing budget, so this has all been grassroots effort, and it word of mouth has just been phenomenal.
Well, when you're doing such a great cause, Mike, what would you like to tell the fans back in Pittsburgh? Because again, you don't get those opportunities all the time to talk to the Pittsburgh fans. I'm saying that just because locally Pittsburgh television is definitely going to get this, is going to carry this one, but we're going to be national, everything. What do you want to say to Pirates fans?
Well, you know what? I love Pittsburgh. I enjoy every year getting to do the Pirate Fantasy Camp. Received a number of inquiries yesterday from Pirate Fantasy campers that live in the Pittsburgh area. They want to become involved. They get in touch with Tim. So I think it's absolutely fabulous. The city of Pittsburgh is just the most wonderful place. They could find a way to fix their winter. I would live there.
No, I'm telling you, I don't miss Pittsburgh in the sunny days. I don't miss not having sunny days, right? Mike,
Well,
that's rough when we don't have many sunny days, right?
Well, yeah, it is tough, and right now the organization is having their let's call it growing pains. They signed a couple of veteran guys. Kutch is back in the fold. As I consider myself more of a Pirate than any of the other three teams that I played with. So it's kind of like. I've got that tie to Pittsburgh. I love going back. Our alumni director, Joe Bilodeau, does wonderful, keeping us alumni guys together, keeping us involved with the city. We go up and we do events. We'll do Pirate Fest. So this is all something that, again, I'm grateful for the time that I got to spend in Pittsburgh and the times that I'll spend there in the future.
All right. So, it's such great things. And that's a great point you talk about the Pirates. You never know if Pitt basketball can make a turnaround like they have this year. The Pirates can do it next year. Really? Because I mean, I never thought, basketball would start winning again, and they're going into March Madness, but go figure. I leave Pittsburgh and Pitt starts dominating. Maybe they're happy I'm gone. So the best place people can find information on you, Tim, is where?
So our website is signatures, the number 4 soldiers.com. And then we have social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So you can just search for Signatures for Soldiers and that'll come up.
And Mike, people can connect with you on Facebook? Is that the best place?
Yeah, I'm just Mike LaValliere. I've got one of my baseball cards as my logo, I guess, for my profile. So you can get me there. You can get me at Spanky Catches on Twitter. I haven't progressed to Instagram yet. So I'm one of the old fossil dinosaurs that's gradually making headway into the technology world. So
then when are you going to do TikTok, Mike? We're waiting. when are you jumping on TikTok?
I don't believe TikTok is ready for Spanky LaValliere.
No, you're not going to do big dances and all that stuff on TikTok, and
we let the young kids take care of that.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike. Thanks. We're back to the Neil Haley Show and also the Media Giant Effect, and I'm excited to welcome my co-host, Dr. Ted Grellner. Dr. Ted, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I am. What a multi-talented woman. I can't wait to speak to her.
Yes, and I'm excited. So I'm excited to welcome the program celebrity Tonya Pinkins. Tonya, thanks for stopping by. I mean, I was just reading your resume of success and what you've been doing from movies to theater to just all these different things. Did you always want to be an actress, an actor? And I just noticed Carnegie Mellon University. Again, I'm a Pittsburgh guy. Started out in radio 13 years ago at CMU. So I never attended you, but I started my radio show at WRCT. So we have that connection. And I'm sure you enjoyed that experience at Carnegie Mellon. But how are you, Tonya?
I am great. Thank you for having me, Neil and Ted. I'm happy to be here. I didn't start out to be an actor. And I don't ever think of myself as just that, because I paint, I write books, I podcast, I make movies, I do theater, I do film, I sing, I do cabaret, I've produced albums. I kind of like to do a lot of things. And I have the kind of mind where I can juggle multiple projects at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that you do that. So I'm asking you a question about Carnegie Mellon. So is that where your undergrad was, at CMU?
I did 1 year at CMU because I booked my first Broadway show over Christmas break as a freshman year. I got into Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim's Merrily We Roll Along. I was cast over the Christmas break, so I knew I wasn't coming back for the second year. I went to Broadway instead.
Well, hey, that means how talented you are, right? Right, from CMU right on to Broadway. And they got a great program, don't they, over at CMU? It's phenomenal.
They do. I was in the musical theater program, and it was fantastic.
All right. Go ahead, Ted, with your first question.
Well, while we're on the topic of education, what is a Fulbright specialist, and what did you do with that?
What a Fulbright specialist is it just really means that you've been designated by the Fulbright organization to go and teach, and they fund you for that. So a university or an organization can apply to Fulbright and say, we're looking for someone to do this, or we're looking for a specific person to do this. And so a university in Russia actually wanted me to come and teach acting there.
Oh, wow. Oh, that must have been quite an experience.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Neil.
You know what? I was taking a look at, some of your places where you had a reoccurring cast. 24 must have been really cool, right? That experience.
Oh, that was a show. I love that show. And, getting to be taken hostage and nearly poisoned to death by Jack was really a highlight of my career.
Go figure. And you again, I was noticing your roles. You just play a variety of different roles. What kind of role do you enjoy the most?
I think I like playing bad people, like Mrs. Peabody on Gotham and Martha on Fear of the Walking Dead. There's something delicious about playing people who are a little off, and you can play nice when you're being evil. You have much more of a range in those characters.
Oh, we better watch out. Her evil character. Another one, Dr. Ted. Remember the
Yeah.
one from Halloween Ends? Oh boy,
Oh,
she was evil. The evil.
That's true.
Oh gosh.
Slasher.
Yeah.
In Red Pill, when I look at the cast and the crew, I see Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins, Tanya Pinkins. You can see from a variety of different jobs and hats. So my question is, what is your favorite and what's the most challenging?
Certainly trying to do all of the jobs is very, very challenging, but there was something very fulfilling about it because I wanted to finish this film and I went over budget and I ran out of money. And so I had to do a lot of jobs because I couldn't hire people to do them. I do like writing and directing. I mean, Red Pill was probably the most fulfilling thing I've ever done other than birthing my 4 children at home.
Oh my, that's quite a job. One more question. What exactly does a producer do?
Well, there are different kinds of producers. Sometimes you see producer on a show and it just means they gave you some good advice and you want to acknowledge them with a producer credit. That's particularly executive producers are often just a name. Someone lent you a name or they connected you with a relationship. The line producer is the person who actually handles the day-to-day, make sure all the sets and all the contracts are done and all the deliverables are ready. That is your line producer. And that's usually one person, often called the unit production manager. And then other people just, you give producer credits. Some people are generous with them. Some are stingy with them. On this, my first film, I gave it to a lot of people. I had girlfriends who came up and got our catering handled and who, did crew work. So it was a village to make Red Pill.
How much did that, based on your experience, being fun, being involved in all those things, compared to, where you have a certain role? Either you're going to be acting or you're going to be behind the camera, but you're doing so many different things. Is that when it's like your baby, right? That's what you talked about.
It's my baby.
Process is, are you happy where direction as creators are becoming now? Where more and more people are making their own films, more and more people are having the opportunity compared to when it was not available to people 20 years ago?
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to allow us to see more stories and see more of the world. And it's just the most thrilling thing I've ever done. You realize that people who make movies, they get to create worlds and other people will inhabit those worlds and that will change their mind and their imagination about what's possible. So it's a very powerful thing getting to be a storyteller and make a movie.
When you write a script and you're producing it and you're acting in it, at what point do you realize whether or not that script is going to be a hit and whether it's connecting with people?
We had readings of it. We had some readings at Yale. We had readings with the actors. The thing that I knew about Red Pill was it's a critique of American politics. It's a critique of both political parties. And so I was aware that in America, it probably wouldn't be a hit. But outside of America, I knew they'd get it and love it. And it's won a lot of international awards and been translated into German and Italian and Greek and Catalonian and Russian. It's sometimes hard for people to look in the mirror and see themselves. And when I made Red Pill, people were like, oh my God, that's such a far-fetched story. And I was like, okay, it's far-fetched. I'm going to do it. And then after January 6th, they were like, did you make this movie after January 6th? I'm like, no, 2 years before.
So tell us about Red Pill so that people have not seen it. So
Red Pill is like a horror film. It's my favorite genre. And it's the eve of the 2020 election. And this multicultural group of middle-aged people, take a car down to the South to go canvassing, and it gets interrupted. And I play a character who's like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this isn't a good idea. And they just keep going, oh, you're always just so much. You're so extra. It's perfectly safe. And then the first night one goes missing, and the next day someone gets killed, and on and on and on until we get to the end. So it's like a sociopolitical horror thriller.
I love horror movies, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. And were you playing a bad guy or good guy in that one? What would you consider?
For me, I don't feel like in the political system there are any good or bad guys. They're both about the same. They're both equal. What I played was the person who kept saying, the emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes. And nobody was listening.
Got it. Now, when I think about looking at a Tony Award winner, performed on Broadway, have been on these big shows. Wow. I've not seen many actors that could say, hey, I was on Broadway, I won a Tony, and I also have acted with so many talented people. When you reflect on your career, do you see something that is just amazing that a lot of working actors can't say they've done?
I definitely know that I've done a lot of things, more that I have a greater variety of credits than most people, but it's because I'm just curious. So I'm not afraid of failing at things. And whenever I hear of something new, I want to try it. And I don't mind if I fail at it. So I think that a lot of times people get caught up in their career and they want to be successful and they want to repeat success because nothing succeeds like success. Whereas I'm like, okay, I succeeded at that. Now let me go try this other thing. And I think that would be what defines me, is that I'm always saying, okay, well, what else? What else? What else?
So on your time off, I'm assuming you're thinking about work, because that's your hobby.
Well, I also love to travel. And I've committed several years ago that 6 weeks a year, I've got to go and just sit in some foreign place where I don't know anybody. So literally tomorrow, I don't know when this airs, but I'm headed to Portugal and West and Central Africa. I don't have many plans. I'm just gonna take some buses and bush taxis and figure it out. And people are like, you can't do that. And you don't have visas. And I'm like, okay, well, if I get someplace and they don't have a visa and they won't let me in, I'll have to figure out something else.
This will air in 2023. I keep rolling. Again, it's Friday. My syndication for the radio program, which I don't mention sometimes, is Monday through Friday. I'm on 150 plus radio stations, plus put this for television. This will be on BPTV Channel 7 in Pittsburgh, and also be on my YouTube channel. So, and then all the podcasting. So I am what we call a hybrid of hybrids, and I have no idea in 2023 where else I'm going to be going. I was talking to somebody today about VR and AR. Wait till the podcast, Ted, is going to be in virtual reality. We'll all have our virtual reality glasses, and we'll be all together in Tanya's house. That's what's going to be happening.
I've got a gallery. I've got a few houses in VR in alt space, and I had a screening of Red Pill in VR.
Really?
So I'm with you.
Oh,
like I said, I'd like to try it all.
We got to be ready for Web 3.0, don't we? You're already ready, right?
Yes. Yes, there's masks in my film. And so we had some wearables even created when they had the screening, so people could put on the masks like were worn in the movie while they watched the movie.
As I was saying, the media giant, which is now my persona, because I'm 6'10", former professional wrestler, that now I call myself the media giant, Neil the Media Giant Haley. I see that, again, Web 3.0, if no one's jumping on board, you better wake up. And we're going to be in outer space very soon, all of us, and we have to be ready. And I can see with your energy level, you want to be there. So that's why you take the 6 weeks to vacation a year. Because if you don't take those 6 weeks, you're not going to be there. And that's the thing we all have to look at with our health, is enjoying ourselves as well. So the latest project's Red Pill. Is there anything else people can check you out in?
I have a podcast called You Can't Say That, where I interview some really fascinating people. It's on the Broadway Podcast Network. I have a book, Get Over Yourself, How to Drop the Drama and Claim the Life You Deserve. And my second book is Red Pill Unmasked, which is the making of the film. And there's a game to go with the film that you can find on the Red Pill Movie website, which is a narrative game where you have to see if you can survive a world controlled by the red pills.
I love the promoting. Go ahead, Ted. Last question. I'm going to give you one more question with her.
Oh my God, I don't know what to ask. She's opened up so many different subjects. Writing, is that something that came early or late?
Early. First thing I ever did, I started writing my first novel when I was about 6. And I was writing it every year and sending out little episodes of it to my friends through the years. It was like a murder mystery that was going to happen when we grew up and had a reunion. And in 4th grade, my 4th grade teacher, scooped up all the little excerpts that were with people, and she was offended by the sex and violence in it. And so she destroyed the only copy that had been typed on a typewriter.
Oh,
And so I had a
no.
little hard time writing for a while, but that is my first love, my first love.
Oh my God.
Well, Tanya, I'm blown away. Have a great trip for sure. Enjoy yourself. And you're right. Do you get recognized other places? Is that one reason why you like it, from other gigs you've done where you're on the street or different people recognize you?
I like being recognized. I just enjoy soaking in worlds that aren't mine. You know, I'm always aware that whatever I think I know, other people know something else. And so I enjoy finding out what else there is.
That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate it, and a good shout out
Thank
again to your podcast, and that network's fantastic. Shout out to the network hooking me up to get Tanya, and I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for coming on the show. We're back to the Neil Haley Show and also the Media Giant Effect, and I'm excited to have as my co-host. I'm looking forward to doing more of this, Dr. Charles Simkovich of Simkovich Concussion Institute. Dr. Charles, now you're not being interviewed, you're co-host with me. How are you today?
Yeah, that's fun to switch roles a little bit.
Yes. And I am so excited to bring awareness to organizations that are doing such great work. And I'm excited to have the founder and executive director, Vaso Palioris, on the show. She is the founder and executive director of Lending Hearts. How are you, Vaso? Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk about how this whole thing started. And we're going to get to Dr. Charles a little bit about how he's helping sponsor the event as one of the sponsors, but let's learn about this growth and this amazing story.
Thank you. In 2004, my younger sister was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I have about 10 and a half years older than her. So I was kind of always that second mom, big sister to her. So when she was diagnosed at the age, she had just turned 17, she was a junior in high school. So I really stepped in and taking care of her medical needs, because it was a very trying time for our family. At that time, my husband and I had a baby, and I was pregnant with our second, and kind of just immersed myself in her care. And we were sitting in the waiting room for our first appointment with the oncologist. And it was really in that moment and in that space that the name of the organization came to me, the whole concept for it, because I was looking around to others in the waiting room, and I knew that we were really blessed with a big family that was there for us. But I looked around and I saw so many people sitting there by themselves, and I kept thinking, I just want to lend my heart to them. Or are they okay? What are they in need of? And that's really how the concept started, but nothing really, I didn't take any steps with it until 2011. And here we are now. It's been quite an impressive and truly amazing journey along the way.
Well, it definitely is. And it's a challenge to have any foundation and to start it. So there were a lot of growing pains, I'm sure, at the beginning. Coming up with the idea is fantastic, but then the work and all the people that volunteer their time and putting it all together to get these events that you're doing with Lending Hearts, we're going to talk about today as well on the show. It's a process, right? It's not easy.
No, when I actually had always kept in touch with my sister's oncologist, and when I went to him to see if the idea was even a valid one. I didn't know if anything existed, and I just knew that there was no need for duplications of services. If it was already being done, wonderful. I'll happily step aside. But if it wasn't, was it something that could be used and beneficial to folks? And I'll never forget his words. He said, you need to do this and I'll stand behind you. And I was dumbfounded. I said, all right, now what? And I joke, but I literally went to Barnes & Noble and bought Nonprofits for Dummies, because I'm a chemical engineer by trade. I don't know the first thing about starting a nonprofit. So what I did know was that my knowledge and my scope were only so far, and I had to find the others to fill in the gaps for me. And quickly, it was really unbelievable, the people who just came together of different strengths and talents and brought it all to life.
How did you find out awareness on this foundation, Dr. Charles? How did that happen?
It happened through a retired hockey player for the Penguins named Tyler Kennedy. They're co-sponsoring one of his events, and he's on their board also, he and his wife. And he said, listen, this is a good charity. We really believe in it, and we're behind it 100%. And I think it'd be something good if you look into it. And they're unique, and everybody we've met. So we jumped on board, and everybody we've met in the organization has really been wonderful and really caring. There's a lot of organizations that benefit cancer, but this is it just stands out. It stood out to my wife and I, so that's how we got involved through Tyler Kennedy.
And Vaso, you're really thinking big. We're talking off air, and I will bring up maybe something at the end, but you're thinking big, not just for locally in Pittsburgh, where it's growing leaps and bounds. We're going to talk about Cam Hayward and stuff in the event coming up in just a day, because we'll be airing on syndication on Thursday night in Pittsburgh. But really, how this all started, now you're thinking national, and it's growing nationally now too, isn't it? Not just locally. Correct?
It is. It's the I guess, to me, the only perk of COVID. So that when we took everything digital, that's when our services were then to be able to be used by folks in different parts of the country. So it was really fascinating to see, by them Googling and searching and social media and what have you, that they were able to find us and take part in our services.
And that's exciting. And then that's where it starts. The services start is getting the word out, and more nationally it's going to happen. So tell us about the big event coming up on Thursday.
Thursday, we're very excited. It's our 11th annual gala this year, presented by UPMC Hillman Cancer Center and Genentech. And we are thrilled to be honoring Pittsburgh Steeler, Mr. Cam Hayward. He truly personifies our mission and what it means to lend your heart. He's so active in the community, and his philanthropy and all the good works that he does for others. Whether it's children in need, raising awareness and support of cancer. So he is our honoree this year.
And I was a big fan of Craig Ironhead Hayward as well. So, you know, when I hear Cam and the name and think of Ironhead always, God rest his soul. Because again, I'm a huge Pitt fan. So, wow, you know, it's great to have Cam part of this. And he really is, to honor him of the work he does. That's what you're really looking at, specifically enough. People that are really doing great work in the community, especially with bringing cancer awareness and stuff, right? And helping.
Correct. We've had wonderful, every year, wonderful honorees, but they're each honored for a different reason and what they do, whether they've been touched by cancer themselves, the impact they make in the community, different aspects to why we select them.
Very good. So Dr. Charles is one of the sponsors. So explain what the sponsors do to help so that this event can happen.
Our sponsors are everything to us and more. We really appreciate not only the support, but the partnership beyond this event. I mean, this event allows us to provide all of the free services that we do to patients and their families, but we take each supporter, each organization, each business as a true partner in the efforts that we do throughout the whole year. So without them, we can't do what we do.
So tell us more about the gala, what to expect at the gala on Thursday night.
We'll be at the Fairmont Pittsburgh. We will have a full dinner and cocktails for everybody. In addition to honoring Cam, we will have a family speak about their story, their journey on their own, and then coming to Lending Hearts. We're also going to have live entertainment this year by singer-songwriter and recording artist Justin Fabus. So we're very excited to have him included in the evening.
Dr. Charles, do you have any?
Every family has somebody that touches cancer. My grandmother passed away from cancer, and I've had a brother and a sister who have had cancer. My sister is surviving. And so it's a good organization to get involved because there's so many people that it touches personally.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So let's say if a family is in need and needs your services, how do they reach out, especially nationally, to get help? Mm-hmm.
Sure. Our website, lendinghearts.org, right on the homepage, shares all of our upcoming services. They want to sign up. They simply just have to hit the RSVP button, but they can obviously go through the other pages and learn more about us. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So we are accessible in all means. All of our contact information is on the website, and we do hope folks that who are in need will reach out.
And what is your ultimate goal for the foundation? Where do you want to see it go?
I want us to see us do more nationally, both virtually, in person. It just keep the organization growing strong so that when they hear the words Lending Hearts, they know exactly what it is and what we can do for them.
Anything else?
Started to go to the gala in 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. March 16th, stopping by. And Dr. Charles, where can we find information on you? Where can we go?
SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com.
Excellent. I appreciate both of you. It was a great show. And thank you again for helping families that have been hit with cancer. And it's such a great service that you're providing. And I hope it continues to grow more and more each time. And hopefully through my nationally syndicated show, we'll bring awareness even further to more and more places that don't know who you are yet. And they soon will. So I appreciate it, Vasa.
Thank you both. I greatly appreciate this
Thank
opportunity.
you.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show and also the Media Giant Effect. And I'm first excited to welcome the program my co-host, Dr. Deborah Matthew. Dr. Deb, how are you? I know you're excited about our guest today. We watched him on Chips for
We
years.
did watch those
Oh, my
motorcycles.
And but Larry Wilcox, our guest, literally has been in many more things than just Chips, and his voice is synonymous, and I will always remember it. Larry, thanks for stopping by, man, and catching up on the Neil Haley Show. We've been friends on Facebook for a while, and I appreciate you coming by.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Thank you
Absolutely.
both.
Absolutely. All right. Dr. Deb has come up with some really nice questions for you, and I will be asking the follow-up as we are having this fun conversation. Go ahead, Dr. Deb.
Yeah, well, that Chips role was so iconic, and of course, we all remember that. But can you tell us the story about how did you land that role?
Yeah, I had been before that. I'd done a lot of episodic guest star and all that kind of stuff. And the producer Rick Rosner saw me in a Hawaii 5-0. And in a movie I did with Farrah Fawcett, was my girlfriend, called The Great American Beauty Contest. And so I went on an interview with him. He asked me, did I ride a motorcycle? Well, first I read for him for a television pilot with Don Meredith called Aero Bureau. And it was about cops and helicopters. And that didn't sell. We did it. We had a good time, Dandy Don and myself. And then the next year, he said he wanted me to star in Chips and help him pick the other actor. And by then, I was a young actor. Young actors are boring. They start believing their own press and thinking they're an actor. And that's probably where I was at that time. So I said I wasn't interested in doing Chips, that I was becoming this actor now, and better roles and so on. And there wasn't room for another cop show. And anyway, to make a long story short, prostitutes can always be bought. So he offered more money, and I eventually did Chips, and I should be so lucky. I had a great time.
So were you a motorcycle rider when you started the show?
I was, but I humbly, I kind of got embarrassed. I learned so much from the CHP, and we went through the CHP motorcycle training, and we got very proficient on the motorcycles. Both Eric and myself, we had to lay them down and wreck them, and do high-speed braking, and make the rear end come around to the front end, high-speed braking, and just and the really difficult part was turning figure eights in a real small area, balancing, brake, and clutching on the motorcycle. We had Robert Pine, who came, and he just could not ride the motorcycle. So he basically did entrances and exits. But good guy, but the motorcycle wasn't his forte, but he's a good actor.
Did you ever get hurt? Did you ever have any accidents?
I did. I had a few. If you've been on a motorcycle, it's a matter of time. Yeah. And they're not safe instruments, no matter who you are, kind of like helicopters, but that's why insurance is so high. But, I wrecked a few. And then when they were trying to perfect, we rode the motorcycles. That's number one, Eric and I. Number two is, well, were they ever on trailers? Yes, they were, for close-ups, and because they had to maintain focus on two people exactly next to each other, and they didn't want the noise of the motorcycle in the background. In perfecting those trailers, they built some really weird ones in the beginning, and for a while I had one where the front wheel was on the trailer and the back wheel was on the ground, which sounds great till you go around a corner and it doesn't turn and flips you off the motorcycle, So it flipped me about 30 feet in the air. And luckily I had the rubber gun in my holster so that I hit my hip on that gun, which probably would have broke my hip otherwise. Eric had a very tragic accident. They gave him last rites and they said he was dead. And so he had come in on really hot and put on his brakes, and the camera truck wasn't in the position that they had rehearsed it. And so he actually laid the bike down, but it high-sided. So what happens is the motorcycle comes in, goes down like this, and then bam, like that, comes back right at you and throws you in front of it, and then crashes into you, broke his chest, his sternum, and ruptured his aorta, they thought. And they were going to fly him to Houston to open heart surgery. In those days, that's the only place you went for open heart surgery, is how long ago it was. And but he ended up living, and God bless him, he's here today. So yeah, everyone had accidents. Doing stunts, I had accidents, and Chip's reunion, I had accidents doing fight scenes and hitting a tree and on top of a bus, and took out the cameraman, hit him in the back of the head, almost took his head off.
Oh my gosh. I think about those injuries. And so you did a lot of your own stunts, it sounds like.
I did quite a bit, but actors always qualify that, because actors always talk about, yeah, they did stunts. And would you ride the motorcycle in it? I mean, did you really do stunts? No, I didn't. I did stunts on the jet skis because I love those, and that was easy. I did stunts on horses and rodeo stuff because I do that. But I didn't catch on fire, and I didn't do those really bad wrecks and stuff. The stuntmen did them, and they were very talented and crazy in those days, because there wasn't much CGI, special effects, and they just wrecked.
Wow. So how much of your character was Larry? How much of you did you bring into the role?
Quite a bit, I think, because, I always think that Chips was probably one of the most difficult roles I ever had, because it was so boring. So, when you have a character that says 10-4 every fifth page and is the straight man for Mr. Gorgeous, Eric Estrada, right? Then what do? You're the white envelope walking around, right? And white bread. And so, I had to try to figure out ways that didn't look like an actor begging for camera time, and do it in subtle ways that created some subtext, substance, charm, loyalty, and character qualities that would grow over time. Little subtle things that I did. Sometimes the producers would get mad because they wanted me to be gaga goo goo when Eric's singing a song and dancing on stage. And I said, I'm not doing that. That's just ridiculous. And so I would do it a different way, and they couldn't cut around it, but it worked. And I think that the chemistry between the two actors is what was the really meat, if you will, the glue of the show.
Do you think that it would have been a success if you guys weren't getting along so well in the chemistry and all that?
Well, we weren't getting along in the beginning. Later on, we started getting along. In the beginning, we were just two ego punks. And I take as much blame. First of all, I was from a very narrow, myopic culture. So I was a Wyoming cowboy that grew up in Wyoming, didn't know anything about anything, but thought he knew everything. And now I'm exposed to a Puerto Rican who grew up in Harlem, who's bigger than life and is, a Latin cha-cha-cha guy. And so at first, I think I judged that and unfairly. And then, pretty soon our relationship deteriorated. Eric was all about promoting himself at that time, and I was too. He was just a more attractive product to promote in terms of marketing. And so I think we clashed for a while. Now, and I don't do public relations for actors, but now we really get along great. We have a great time. He's hilarious, and yes, he's bigger than life. He loves every girl. He tells them they're his favorite each one that comes in. So he's comedic, and he knows that he's not unlike Ponch. So we get along good now. So back then, to answer your question, I think we just worked hard on camera to make it look charming, and chemistry was there.
Well, and you've done all kinds of things after Chips. So what are some of your really favorite experiences after the show?
Oh, geez, I had so many. My children are the best contribution I'll make in this world. So that was great. Always will be. And especially at my age now, they're the greatest joy of my life. I'm over I don't really have a need to be great anymore. All that greatness chasing gets boring. But I enjoyed the greatness chasing during my life. I enjoyed different roles like Dirty Dozen was fun with my friend, the Andrew McLaughlin was a great director, and he'd use me in almost everything. Larry, I'm going to get you in this next movie I'm doing. You're going to star in it with blah, 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 blah. And okay, great, Andy. And then he would let me kind of write my characters. And, I had really fun in being all these different weirdos that I got to be. So that was fun. I got to direct 2 of the highest rated shows on Chips. So directing was fun. And, directing's a lot of hard work because you're there the first and the last to leave, and then you got to go home and do homework. And then if you're acting also, like in my case, it makes it even more difficult. Luckily, Chips wasn't, I wasn't having to do some Marlon Brando scene. It was John Baker, which 10-4 wasn't too hard. After that, I got to take advantage of a lot of neat things. I got a lot of neat toys, Porsches and Rolls Royces and horses and all the indulgent lipstick that you get from being on a television series. I flew in a lot of airplanes with pilots. I did war games in A7s against F-16s, and we really did them. We fought all the Air Force cadets up in Colorado Springs, and 3 A7s, and then I flew it. I'm a pilot, by the way, also, and so I got to fly, and then we lost our hydraulics, and we almost had to eject because we had no nose wheel steering. So I was with the Top Gun pilot, but the problem was, we had to catch a cable with the hook on the back of the A7, and he'd never done it in his life because he's an Air Force pilot, not a Navy pilot, and so we had to do it. And they said, if you don't do it, we eject you, and you go through the glass of the canopy, it shoots you out, and then you'll pass out and you'll wake up and your parachute will be open. So that was fun. We caught the wire, by the way, so we didn't have to eject. I had some of me wanted to eject and some didn't. I got to race cars and do the celebrity racing, and then I did regular racing, and then I started producing. I produced a television series for 5 years all over the world, the Ray Bradbury Theater. Yeah, I put that's a sad story, really. I put that deal together with HBO. Then we put it together with Atlantis Films in Canada, and they screwed me. We raised the money for that project. We had the copyright at the time, and then they asked if they could please have the copyright because they're helping us distribute it. And after 5 years of producing it and doing all that work and bringing an award-winning project to HBO, then Atlantis Films did a very snarky, sneaky little thing. They did this is what in the business. They sold their share. So someone says, well, what do you mean they sold their share? Well, you owned the company, right, Larry? Yeah. And they were partners. Yeah. So they just sold their share. Well, I guess they could do that. Not really, but someone might rationalize that they can. Not only did they sell their share, who'd they sell it to? Goldman Sachs. Oh, of course. And so who owns it now? Because they're playing that on Amazon and all kinds of places. You can rent the Ray Bradbury Theater. Are you making any money? How much money did they sell all their assets for? About $300-400 million. And how much did you make? Zero. And so when I called them to ask them, that was their, well, we sold our share. Yeah, but did you stipulate in the contract that I was the partner? So 50% of any deal thereafter, I get it. So those are the kind of slime dogs that you have to deal with in the business. They always have a smart aleck rationale, but they're just parasitic and they're toxic for the film business. So, but I had a good time producing it, made good money while I was producing it. And then I produced the Dorothy Stratton story, The Death of a Playmate, and a bunch of other stuff I won't bore you with. And now I do technology. So I'm into all kinds of really neat technology with UVC light and ultraviolet light. Based on how we do it, we have 9 patents. The company's called UVCscience.net. And we are able to, we think we're the only company in the world that, and we haven't found any else that can do this yet, is that we can kill all bacteria and viruses in literally 1 second. And for up to 10 feet away. So any COVID or any kind of virus on a surface or in the air. So in air conditioning HVAC systems, we're inside the actual tube and we kill all that bacteria flowing through your air conditioning or in the air. And then if you have, say, a surgical center, we kill it all with this great big device. You can see at uvc.net. And we had about close to $20 million of pre-orders already. We just did our first HVAC show, and all the major manufacturers want to put it inside their system. So I like that. And the last thing I'm doing is I'm presently negotiating 2 very, very large funding deals that I would be able to go back to friends and family and fund things that they've always wanted to do, and give them a leg up in life like I got, which I'm humbled for and grateful for. That's all.
Wow. You know what, Larry, we're gonna have to have you back on just to talk about UVC because I want.
I know. As a medical doctor now, all of a sudden I've got that website written down.
The Dr. Deb, we have to have a part 2 for sure, and I'd love to talk off air. Where's the best place people can find information on you and stuff, Larry?
My website is larrywilcox.net, but the uvcscience.net probably is the only one that's been tested by a laboratory in a university medical facility to make sure that our representations and warranty are true. So you can go to the website and find it.